Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to talk about beasts, fantastic beasts. We will look at one of secondary characters who were nonetheless extremely important for the story. A maledictus named Nagini. To be more exact, we will try to reveal the mystery of how she went from one master to another, from Grindelwald to Voldemort. So, as always, first things first. And first of all, let's make it clear that this video is just a theory. Unfortunately, none of the canonical sources mentioned the concrete facts of how it happened, since the whole story of the fantastic beasts wasn't written yet, so we have no way of knowing the full destiny of Nagini, as well as destinies of other important characters. Well, we know how their stories ended, but we don't know how their lives were turning out, leading to the grand finale. And so, all of our conclusions will be drawn from other facts about characters and stories that were somewhat related to Nagini, and it makes me a bit sad, to be frank. What's the real point of creating a theory if Dumbledore isn't the main protagonist of it? So, who is Nagini exactly? The additional materials tell us that she is a maledictus, a man, or in this case a woman, cursed to transform him or herself into a magical entity, usually a magical beast, a dreadful snake. One of the most terrifying side effects of being a maledictus is that the cursed person is eventually going to be forced by the curse to transform into a magical animal indefinitely, not only losing his or her own human form, but his or her human mind as well. And here we have to make a small separate note. Nota bene. As some of our viewers might know, we love the whole Fantastic Beasts things, and so we cannot not mention the fact that in a film, Nagini turned herself into a beast only twice. And what's more interesting, she did it somewhat willingly. Well, of course, she wasn't absolutely free as a person. She had to perform the trick in front of the audience, but at the same time, we didn't really notice any indications in the film that the curse forced the lady to turn into a snake. And what if she decided not to take her inhuman form? Not to turn herself into a vicious, instinct-driven reptile? The creators of the film try to convince us that her form-shaping was very dangerous, and that each time she risked losing her sanity forever. Then, why not just not turn yourself into a snake? Jokes aside, it was a possibility. Oh, and by the way, nobody told us if the curse affects everyone, muggles and wizards alike. This snake lady can actually be a muggle. She's never shown utilizing a wand. She's never even shown to be performing any magical tricks. It is, however, possible that she could have been an enslaved witch, for whom it was just forbidden to use magic, even though nobody forbade her from freely moving around the territory. Judging by all the events that took place in the films, she cannot be called a mere maledictus. She is most likely a shape-shifting animagus. This very ability, according to our theory, allowed her to change her shape at will. That is why in a circus, she didn't turn into a reptile before she was told to, with the whole show being built around her wondrous ability of transformation, controlled by the shape-shifter's will. And let's note that just as in case with other animagi, like Sirius Black or Mr. Ratface, Peter Pettigrew, her clothes were also affected by the transformation. I sincerely doubt that a wizard that created the curse would be pleasant-mannered enough to make the curse as convenient as possible by including clothes into the equation. And let's not forget to mention the second case of Nagini's transformation, when she and Credence were molested by one bold villain, and she actively shapeshifted. Still, the canon is the canon. Even though it would have been way more logical to call Nagini an animagus, she was still considered to be a maledictus, destined to stay in her cursed form in the end. And so, at this moment, after the second film ended, Nagini is in Hogwarts. It is the year 1927, and we have a question. She was nominally under Albus Dumbledore's protection. If so, how could Voldemort become her new master? I smell another theory in the air, something to do with Albus Dumbledore himself. But anyways, we can say when Voldemort and Nagini became a team, so to say. 1994, Riddle's Manor. Nagini's venom was used to contain life inside a rudimentary body created by Mr. Pettigrew, the Ratface. But that is what we know is canonical facts, and what if Nagini and Voldemort met even before the aforementioned events? Oh, and by the way, as a little side note, since she was 20 years old in 1927, it means she's pretty old in the Potter books. A pretty energetic old woman, just like old Grandad Dolohov. Not to say they were in any way related, save for their age. Still, energetic Aberforth beats them both in this regard. By the time she finally made Voldemort her new master, her curse finally made her transformation back into the human form impossible. I heard people say that her last form shifting took place right before she participated in the mentioned ritual of 1994. And while it is a bold claim, by now there is no reason not to agree with it. So how and where could younger Voldemort meet Nagini earlier than that? Most likely in a London orphanage. Theoretically speaking, Nagini could get there, or as with her snake form, to creep there, just as some other snakes did. For example, she could have been sent by some mysterious wizard, whom we might call Albus Percival Wolfbrig Brian D., just for the sake of conspiration. And then Hogwarts. As we remember from the film, she did eventually arrive to the Hogwarts Bridge. There, or some other location nearby, she could have secretly resided for years, eventually forging a friendship with Tom Riddle, either during or after his student years. For example, when he worked at Borgen and Burke's or travelled around Europe. There is a problem with this theory though. Nobody ever mentioned any snake or any mysterious shape-shifting woman having any business to do with Voldemort. Bellatrix Lestrange was the only one to be known to be close to him, not to mention the fact that he only made her a Hocrux in the year 1994. If the two ever met before, Voldemort could have made the maledictus his Hocrux as early as 1991, with the help of Quirrell. And yet, we can 99% be sure that Nagini and Voldemort never met before the events of the Goblet of Fire. It is important to mention that in the past, even before the second film was created, many speculated that she could have been in a relationship with the Dark Lord himself. Some say Voldemort could have even had some romantic feelings towards her. And yet, there were no proofs for that, especially considering the fact how close Voldemort and Bellatrix Lestrange were, with the latter even giving birth to Tom Riddle's child, Delphine. What's interesting is that after the second film was created, such a theory containing Voldemort's romantic interest got new points to be based upon. For example, Nagini's behavior in her reptile form was pretty logical and meaningful. And what's more important, Voldemort and Nagini shared some sort of connection. Not merely a magical connection, but an emotional one. You know, touchy-feely. There is, however, a pragmatic explanation for that as well. She was a Hocrux, and in the Order of Phoenix, we can even see her falling for her animal instincts, with Voldemort suppressing the noted instincts. There is, however, a pragmatic explanation for that as well. She was a Hocrux, and in the Order of Phoenix, we can even see her falling for her animal instincts, with Voldemort suppressing the noted instincts. The control he had over the animal was one of the side effects of creating a living Hocrux, both a positive and a negative one. By making an animate object your Hocrux, you can control it, but that also gives you an obligation of controlling it. By the way, even though we can sometimes hear that a maledictus in his or her animal form is destined to lose his or her sanity, this snake appears to be very much sane and open to communication with others. Oh, and the Basilisk from the Chamber of Secrets. He was also pretty intelligent for a mere reptile. Ah, that's what happened to old Grandpa Salazar! Okay, fun is fun, but as we mentioned before, the first and the main effect of the curse is losing the ability to turn human. The ability Nagini most likely lost indefinitely. And what do you think? When was the link, or would better say the bond, was established between Nagini and Voldemort? Tell your opinion in the comment section. We really want to know it. If you're on this channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and to add our videos into your playlists and share them on social networks. Thanks for your attention, noble witches and wizards, and see you in our next videos.